Lisa, couldn't you have found somebody with a little more enthusiasm?
I'm so happy that you all got an opportunity to see his real personality. And as we talked about it, we were going through some prep this morning, and of course, as he indicated, he went off script, but he's genuine and he can't be scripted, and it just gave everyone an opportunity to see his real self and personality.
How much of a priority was it, Dr. Amy mentioned up there, but to find somebody who's sort of very deeply involved in Texas?
Yeah, as we went through this process, and even, I spent many years in Texas and in athletics, and we knew the importance of having connections to Texas and to high school coaches. But as we went through this process these last several days, it became more and more clear how important that is. I even spoke to many of my colleagues, sitting athletic directors at all different levels, and that became very clear that that's such an important profile of this coach.
So this happened pretty quickly. Was this guy on the radar at all to begin with?
Yeah, there are so many names on the radar, but sure, his name came very, very quickly at the beginning of the process with many, many others. As I said in my remarks, it demonstrated what a special place UTSA and how it's viewed. And we know that, living here and being here in San Antonio, but it became very clear the interest in this position, that people know, again, the untapped potential in this program. And so, yes, his name kept coming up, and it was, it's been such a short amount of time, but his name did come up early in the process. When you started this process,
given the challenges that the offense has faced over the last couple of years, was that important to you to get an offensive-minded guy?
Yeah, the high-profile aspects of it was really someone who's going to fit in San Antonio, someone who's going to fit the culture of UTSA, looking at, again, those deep Texas connections. And then we went into the other parts of that, looking at what kind of offense are they going to run, what kind of scheme, but then more importantly, again, how are they going to connect to this community, how are they going to develop and lead players, and how are their entire leadership ability, how is that going to be? So we, again, found the right fit in Jeff Traylor.
A lot of programs, when they let go of the coach, they kind of go in a completely different direction. And, obviously you guys went from one SEC West recruiting coordinator to another. Was there any sort of thought or trepidation about sort of doing a similar profile coach?
Yeah, we went for the person we felt was going to be the best fit for UTSA. And again, those profiles, those pieces of the profiles, what we were really looking for, what I just mentioned before, and Jeff fit that profile for sure.
The thing that kind of jumps out about him is just he's so genuine, isn't he? I mean, he's just basically kind of a salt-of-the-earth type guy, right?
Yes, he is.
He
is.
Coach.
Absolutely. He obviously comes from very humble beginnings, and his you see his personality, that he's a genuine person who deeply cares about developing students. That is one thing that came out very clearly. The amount of former players of his, and even how he talked about even players he recruited that he wasn't able to land, that just unbelievable words that they have to say about him.
This is his first collegiate head coaching job, which is something fans were kind of quick to point out on social media. Is that something that concerned y'all at all when you were going through the process?
Now, you know what, to his point, again, it is so important to recruit the players that are going to win championships. It's so important to create the culture, and it's important to be a leader. And he's demonstrated that he's a true leader, having the high school coaching, being a head coach in the high school ranks, and then being an associate head coach at two Power 5 or one Power 5 school, and then at SMU being the associate coach. That he learned a lot about being a head coach at this level, was given a lot of responsibilities in those positions. But again, as many people talk about, coaching is coaching. This is a different level, but he's going to be able to bring the culture, the leadership, and then recruit the players that are going to win championships.
And to that point, with his connections in Texas, you can't underestimate at all maybe the damage that he'll do recruiting in his state.
Yeah, he is so connected. Obviously, you look at the people who came to support him. He mentioned that on Thursday we're going to go to the board meeting of the Texas High School Football Coaches Association, and he is beloved. He is part of that fraternity, and he knows he has already cultivated those relationships, and he's going to be able to recruit very well in the state of Texas. Absolutely.
During the interview process, recruiting, while obviously can be improved, wasn't necessarily the biggest issue facing the program. How much was the discussion about what he plans to do on field as well?
Yeah, again, all of those things. We probably asked him 100 different questions, and the way he manages practices, the way he's going to the influence he's going to have on the offense. We know that he's such an offensive minded individual, but again, looking back at those other characteristics that we think that we know create and help develop student athletes and help develop championships is what we were really looking at.
In this day and time, Lisa, I mean, you guys, big time college football program, a lot of times the patience runs out pretty quickly if we're not winning. When you go into a situation like this, do you have like, we've got to get this done in 3 years, 4 years? Is that on your mind at all?
Yeah, well, if anyone knows me, they know I'm very impatient in terms of just wanting to be successful in the way we define that success, you know, making sure that foremost we're taking care of these student athletes, and there is no doubt that he is going to create that culture and develop these student athletes, which is really important. And as he talked about, the championship culture, the wins will come from how we develop that. And I look at that from not only a football perspective, but from a leadership perspective from our entire department.
What impact do you think his attitude and energy is going to have on the fan engagement with the program?
Oh, it's going to be unbelievable. I mean, he is someone who wants to engage this community. He wants to be a part of this community. You know, he already talked about being a part of the marathon every year and get his student athletes out there. And he is someone, again, who just such a genuine human being who wants to he knows how important it is to get people in the stands, and he talked about it today, and you're going to see that. What you saw today is what you're going to see every day, and he's going to want to engage this community.
In the search process, who else did you lean on, or who else had a role in finding this next head coach?
Oh my God. Well, if anyone's gone through the search process, you're talking to probably about 200 people, you know, and just getting advice and getting contacts and finding out everything that you can about all the different candidates. So whether it was other sitting P5, G5 head coaches, whether it was G5, P5 athletic directors, whether it was just others who know the landscape of football, we reached out, and Dr. Amy and I both reached out to as many contacts as we had to make sure that we got this right.
What was the process of settling on his salary figure? Did you have any thought to comparing it to how Coach Wilson was paid when he was here, or what was your guys' process for that?
Yeah, when you look at that that compensation package, we really wanted it to be very incentive-based, and I think that's obvious when you look at that, when you look at the terms of that, and really wanting to be competitive in this conference, but also wanting to put incentives in there for wins and for attendance.
Is the assistant salary pool going to be higher or lower? Do you have any figure on that?
Yeah, we're working through all of that right now. So right now, you know, we have a pool that we have in our budget, but we're going to continue to evaluate that as he starts putting his staff together.
How much of his staff, all does he have put together? He mentions assistants, stuff. Does he already have kind of a skeleton?
Yeah, that's all been happening as we were prepping this morning, and I think I just happened to meet 4 of the guys that are already here in San Antonio, so they're ready to get hired and get moving on this recruiting
Is there
trail.
kind of a ballpark to say that maybe 4 or 5
Yeah,
assistants
yeah,
he's got?
yeah.
Okay.
You mentioned all the incentives. One is for ticket sales benchmarks. Why was that something you wanted to include in that?
Yeah, it's part of that community engagement, right? That there is a partnership there, that the more he engages the community, the more wins he's having, that it's important to have individuals in this Alamo Dome and to support this team. So it's an incentive-based element to that contract.
Was that part of the appreciation that he would take on something like that and take that challenge?
Absolutely, yeah. I think even if it didn't have that incentive package, that's just who he is, and he knows how important it is, again, for San Antonio to embrace him and for him to be very connected to this, not only this city and this region, but the state.
With Coach Wilson's about kind of being part of that, I guess the financial situation of the university, was it important for you guys to, I guess, have those incentives that would drive potentially finances as well as part of the contract?
Yeah, those were independent decisions. We had already looked at the buyout and had already internally figured out how we were going to take care of that and have a plan for that. So that was really 2 independent decisions.
Was the process overall smooth compared to your expectations, or how would you rate how this played out?
It was, as smooth as searches go. They're very intense. They're very time consuming. I probably didn't work on anything else this past week and a half. But again, it really showed, and we all know this sitting in this room, how special San Antonio is, how special UTSA is. And that's really what came out is just, again, talking to other head coaches, talking to the other administrators, but particularly talking to the folks that had interest in this position, that they know what a gold mine UTSA and San Antonio is.
Lisa, this decision to change the leadership atop the football program has been had mixed reactions with the fans. What would be your message to the fans?
Yeah, same message that Coach Traylor just had is that it matters to our student athletes, that at the end of the day, we are supporting 18 to 22-year-olds. And when you think about higher education, this is an opportunity for our student athletes to do what they love in playing football, but also to earn a degree. And our coaches go out and talk to the families and those students and tell them, you are going to have the best experience possible here at UTSA. And part of that experience is filling up the dome and playing in front of 30, 40, 60,000 people. And we really want that to happen for this program, for those student athletes. And we just hope that people continue to be on board with UTSA athletics.
Where was the salary number that you ended on relative to kind of where you had budgeted heading into the process?
Yeah, I think given the guaranteed salary plus the incentive space, it's right where we thought we would land.
What was the value of the search firm, and how much did you guys end up paying for them?
Yeah, so the value of a search firm, I mean, from the logistics to the organization, I mean, you all can imagine that on Sunday of last week, my emails got flooded, and to be able to just give that to someone to go through that, for them to be able to make all the phone calls, and sort of serve as that mediator is just so helpful from the logistics standpoint. So they were invaluable. Give a lot of credit to that search firm. It's a pretty national standard to have a search firm to help with all those details and organization. And so thank you to Todd and the Collegiate Sports Associates.
And what did it cost you guys?
Oh, I'm sorry. And it's, I don't want to be quoted because there was my people were working on that contract. So I don't want to say it without really confirming it, so I can get back to you and give you that number for sure.
He said that President Amy had him at hello. When did you realize that he was the man for the job?
His passion came through right when we started talking with him, and obviously had to do a lot of vetting, had to understand perspectives that others had about him. But from that initial conversation, it became very clear that he fit the profile we were looking for and had the passion, particularly for San Antonio and for UTSA.